So let me tell you where I used to be. Pretty not confident, not good in social situations. Yeah, I didn't really like talking to people. If I had to go and like talk to someone I'd never talked before, I'd be constantly overthinking, thinking like, what do I need to say? How do I not look like an idiot? Like, what do I say? What are you even talking about? How do you have a conversation? Do you know what I mean? That's what I used to be. Then I learned about some of the lessons which I'm going to go through in this video. And it's now made me a lot more confident. I'm able to talk to people, I can film these videos, I can go and do conversations with strangers, random people, whatever, okay? These techniques can be really useful if this is like is who you are, like you're a bit shy, you don't really like social situations. This is going to be an easy way. Like literally these tips are all actionable, tiny tips. One of them literally takes 1 second to do at the start of a conversation, and it's going to literally make it so much easier. It's going to make them like you, it's going to make it a better conversation. 3 things I'm going to go through in this video. It's going to help you with those issues. So what I'm teaching in today's video is from this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's 4 parts to this book, and the one I'm going to go through is ways to make people like you. So if you want to do any like further reading like after this video, then I'd recommend like you can just buy this whole book. Definitely worth the investment. It is a very good book that's going to cover this, but you don't even need to, because in this video basically I'm going to cover the 3 main points that you need to make people like you and have like a good conversation if you're having to have a conversation with a new person or a stranger. Okay, so we're going to start off with the smallest one, and this is literally so simple. It's going to sound cliche, it's going to sound like, oh, this is just some clickbait video. That's not going to help you. Genuinely, these 3 things are going to help you. Don't worry about that. First one is smile. Okay, before any conversation that you need to have, just smile. There's 2 reasons. When you smile, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a biologist, but when you smile, chemicals or hormones or something like that gets released, which goes to your brain. It literally makes you feel happier. Okay, when you smile, like you can be in any situation, like you're like sad or like neutral or anything. Literally smiling, you will just end up being happier. Right? It's just the way it works. That's just like for life in general. If you want to be happier about something, literally just smile more, right? But what this means is if you smile literally before you start the conversation, like 1 second before you start the conversation, right? You're going to be a happier person, right? You're going to come across as happier. It means you're going to be more likable. Okay? Like from like a psychological, like mental perspective, you smiling is going to make yourself happier, which is going to make you be more likable. It's as simple as that. They're going to like enjoy that conversation more because you're seeming more likable, more happy, all that sort of thing, literally just from smiling. It's as simple as that, right? When you have to go into these weird social situations, these new social situations with strangers, literally just smile, because it's got that psychological benefit. It also has that physical benefit for the other person, because when you think of it from an evolutionary perspective, there's a reason we have like facial expressions. Like there's a reason we as humans have like evolved to have like happiness and anger and sadness and disgust and surprise and all these like facial expressions. It's like an evolutionary reason. It's because like if someone in the tribe had like a face of fear, we would need to be able to recognize that instantly so that we could go and like get our spears out and like go and kill the bear that's attacking them. Right, that's like the evolutionary reason why there's facial expressions, so you can understand. That's the exact same when it comes to smile. Just them seeing another human being with a smile, they're like evolutionary systems. It's like seems kind of vague and weird, but it's going to make them like you more. Okay, I'm not going to go any more into that because it is quite like seems a bit dodgy, but smile basically when you're going into these conversations is going to really help. Moving on to the second one, okay? There's a quote from How to Win Friends and Influence People, the book, which I just want to quote right now. A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Okay? So this is an actual step you can do. Number 2, when you're meeting a stranger or when you're talking to someone new or just talking to someone you already know, literally to make you like them, just use their name. Okay? For anything you might normally say, just add in their name. If you're like going to ask them a question, just add in their name beforehand. Like, hey Dan, how do you do this? Literally doing that will make them like you more. Okay, because people really care about their own name. Okay, I was at like an event, and basically the person at the front asked a question, who here cares about if their name is pronounced correctly? And about 90% of people put up their hand. Okay, which is another thing. When you know people's name, make sure you like the first couple of times you get it solid on pronunciation. Okay, so if you meet them for the first time, they say a name, you don't know how to pronounce it, you don't understand it straight away, just ask them a couple of times. Like, it might seem a bit awkward, but they actually appreciate that for you. Like, they respect you more and they like you more because it shows you're putting in the effort to actually understand it. If someone says a name and you don't understand it and you're just like, and then you like just try and just hope it never comes up, they've kind of lost respect for you because they've told their name to so many people and so many people have had to ask for it again. When you got it the first time and didn't ask them, they're actually suspicious. They're thinking he probably doesn't know, but he's not going to say it. So they're actually gaining respect for you when you ask for someone's name again because you didn't quite hear it properly. Okay, so use people's names as often as you can because it just sounds good to them. It makes them feel important. Again, in the book, it talks about like human evolutionary like desires and like needs, right? So like food, water, like mating, right? Well-being of children was another one. So if like think about from an evolutionary perspective, think about like a bear needs food, a bear needs water. A bear also needs, like, if a bear has cubs, it has like an evolutionary like craving, like an evolutionary desire to protect its cubs, right? It's not just going to let its cubs get eaten by a wolf. Do you know what I mean? It has a desire to protect those cubs. Another one of these like evolutionary sort of desires that's come down from like cavemen and all that sort of thing is the desire of feeling important. It's something that it's not just like you might think, oh, there's just some people who want to be important. It's actually like an evolutionary like desire that's like embedded within our biology, the feeling to be important. Because I don't know exactly where it comes from, but I'm guessing it's something to do with like a tribe and like the tribe leader. You want to be the tribe leader because they're the safest. So if you're the most important person, the tribe leader, you're going to be safest because you've got like the other tribe members protecting you and you can make decisions in your interest and all that sort of thing. So that's why it's like useful to be important, which is why like as human beings, we hunger for that feeling of importance. It's the exact same with the name. It just makes people feel important, makes them feel appreciated when you're using their name, when you know their name, when you're putting in the effort to know and use their name. So that's actually step number 2, literally just change one thing, start adding in people's name when you talk to them. Like obviously not every sentence you're just saying their name, but it's like use their name a couple of times, like at the start of a conversation, at the end of the conversation. Literally, instead of good to see you, Jack. One extra syllable, and they literally like you 10% more. And then compound that every time you see them. Okay, this is a really good strategy. Now I'm going to move on to the final strategy, and this is the best one. Okay, this is what you can learn the most from, and this will give you the best results incorporating this one. And if like you're nervous about social situations, you don't really know what to say, you don't really know how to hold a conversation, this fixes all those issues for you. This is like going to tell you exactly what you need to say. Let me tell you a story just to illustrate this. So it was about a month into when I started the job that I'm currently in. There was like a new starter social. So they had like all the graduates, all the apprentices went to like this bar/restaurant place where everyone, like 6 p.m, everyone went there and like talking to people. So like 95% of the people I'd never even seen before. I'd only been working for like three or 4 weeks, and just go around just talking to loads of people. Probably talked to like 20 people, 20, 30 people during that like evening. Out of those like 20, 30 conversations, do I remember every single one? No, of course I don't. This was like 6 months ago, right? I remember one conversation. There's one conversation I vividly remember from this like one evening 6 months ago. Okay, so something must have gone well there, right? If I can remember that one conversation six months previously, that must be like a model conversation. That's what we should aim for. Okay, let's analyze what happened in this conversation. It was basically a new person who works the same company as me, basically just introducing each other, basically saying like, oh, hi, what's your name? Oh, where do you work in? Whatever, introductions. Then he started asking me about what I do. And I'm like, oh, I do this sport and I do this. And he's like, oh, so this sport, how long have you been doing that? How did you get into that? What's your current plans with that? So what's your training plan with that then? Oh, do you have competitions coming up? Oh, you did one last week already. How did that go, right? When's your next one? What's your goals, right? Genuinely, he kept asking me about the sport I do. And kept asking me just questions. And I was able to just keep talking. I was like, so yeah, I do this, and then I do this, and then so I'm doing this, and actually like, my goal for this one is to do this. And that's how the whole conversation went. To this day, I can remember it. Do you know why that was such a memorable conversation? That felt like a good conversation for me. It was because I got to talk about myself. Literally that whole conversation probably would have been 20 minutes. I got to talk about myself the entire time, okay? And that's what people want in a conversation, okay? People just want to talk about themselves. People, let's just be honest, people literally only care about themselves. That is the key to having a good conversation with people. When you allow people to talk about themselves, they will say to you, that was such a good conversation. Or like they will remember it 6 months later as being a good conversation, okay? What they don't realize is you didn't even say anything. Right? They were the ones talking about themselves the whole time. That's like the criteria for people having a good conversation. How much of the time did you get to talk about yourself? That's how it works, right? So how do you actually make this happen? Ask questions, okay? That's step number 3. You just need to ask questions to people. Exactly like this guy was doing for me. Ask me, oh, what sport do you do? And then like, oh, how long have you been doing that? How do you get into that? Have you tried other sports? Is that your only one? Oh, what's the competition you got? Oh, how did that go? That is the best way to do a conversation. Just ask them, whatever situation you're in, when you're meeting like a new person, start asking them questions. If we were to have a conversation right now and you asked me, oh, and how's your YouTube going? Mate, that'd be a sick conversation. Do you know what I mean? I'd talk to you for like 3 hours. I'd be like, oh, yes, there's this and this and this. And then like you keep asking me, oh, okay, so what videos do you have planned? Or like, what's the good things that I've gone in the past 6 months? I'd be like, oh, so you know, like this happened, and then this happened. And then you're like, oh, okay, that sounds good. What's the bad things that happened in the past 6 months? Have been there any like low points? I'm like, yeah, so there was like this point where this happened. And I could literally talk to you for like 3 or 4 hours about like YouTube if you just kept asking me questions about it. It's the exact same with you. You probably have like some hobby, some passion, something you're interested in, something you care about, maybe something you've been working on, a project you've been doing. I could just ask you questions and you'd talk all day and you'd have an amazing time. Right, because you're able to just talk about yourself. You're getting the opportunity to just talk about yourself. So if you pair all these together, it's like you don't need to worry about like overthinking about how to have a good conversation again, or like what to say, or like how to seem likable, how to make people like you. You just do these 3 things. You like start smiling, then you start using their name, and you just keep asking them questions about what they're interested in. Okay, and then they're just gonna have such a good conversation. They're not even gonna notice. That's how like clever this like whole thing is. They don't even know. They're not gonna like be like, right, this guy has read page 5 of how to win friends and influence people. And no one's gonna do that because they're just normal people, right? They're just whatever. I, of course, when this was going on, I knew exactly what was going on because I'd read how to win friends and influence people. I knew what was going on, right? When it happened to me, that situation at this event, right? But no one else is going to be like, oh, he's utilizing principle 4 from how to win friends and influence people. They're just going to have a good conversation. They're probably not even going to realize that you've been asking them loads of questions and like you even have barely said anything. So I hope this video's helped. Those are 3 tactics I want you to employ whenever like you're meeting new people or even people you already know and you need to have a conversation. If you want them to have a good experience, then literally smile, use their name and ask them questions. That's like what, if that's what you're looking for. If you're optimizing for them liking you, that's what you need to do. Like you're probably gonna have a bad comment. Like you're probably gonna like be really bored in the conversation because you don't care, right? If you want to have a good conversation, you're gonna want to like talk about yourself and contribute at some points, right? But that's not what we're optimizing for. If you're optimizing for that, then that's fine. Talk about yourself and have like a normal conversation. But I'm saying if we're literally optimizing for people thinking we are nice, like liking us, the exact way you optimize it is you asking them questions and barely even speaking yourself. Let them do all the talking. It's exactly how you do it. I hope this video has helped. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks very much for watching.